good evening. And I have a very tough job because it's already 6 o'clock, and so I'm going to try to make a very, very quick presentation. But I think, I thank my colleagues. I think they made some very, very good presentations, and really today I think there is no doubt that there's a big safety case for business. But one of the reasons I think, and I've worked as an HSE practitioner for many years, and I try to explore why is it that it has taken industry so long to realize that there is such an important case, business case, in investing in safety and EHS. So actually, along with a colleague of mine who was doing his MBA at the time when I was doing my DBA research, and I'd done an MBA a few years ago, and I started realizing that there's so many important things in an MBA that I learned as a safety practitioner and implemented at work as a manager. But the problem was that the MBA courses actually don't contain many or actually any modules that cover safety or cover. Nowadays, some MBAs in some progressive institutions are looking at sustainability, obviously, and things like that. So what we decided to do is to do a bit of research. So this presentation just takes you a bit through that research. So I'll just go through the objective and the approach, and talk about these sort of 10 most important elements and how we worked about it, and really conclude by talking about being an effective executive as an EHS practitioner. So many practitioners obviously struggle with organizations to promote much of the needed change. So the change that has taken place over the years has obviously come and one of the elements have been the efforts that have been exercised by many of these HSE practitioners. But the problem is that as HSE practitioners, generally you come from a background of operations, then you go into safety, or you come from a different kind of background, like an engineer or a technical kind of person or a scientist. And then you have to articulate this business case to the organization, and you're not able to articulate it because you're not trained that way, you're not even thinking that way. So HSE starts to compete with management's attention and resources and support, because you have a CEO who's got the marketing manager telling him, hey, listen, we've got this big opportunity, we could make really a lot of money out of this. Yet at the same time, he's got you who's telling him, I need some more money because I need to invest in a whatever drops program or a whatever program. It doesn't matter how good the program is. So, but we also a very important point is that many of the incidents that happen actually, although they manifest themselves as safety incidents, the problem actually is that the underlying reason, and when you do a lot of incident investigation and you start studying especially the root causes of incidents, you find that the root causes, and I think it was mentioned by some of the presentations, that 80% or something of incidents are caused by organizational leadership failures. So you must understand the business. We have no choice as HSE practitioners otherwise. So our approach was really try to understand what are the problems that the practitioners are facing in an organizational context. Then, try to study a bit of their challenges and explore the business knowledge that is needed by these practitioners to overcome these challenges, and assess the impact of this knowledge and skills on the practice within an organizational context. Our methodology was actually to look at obviously the current research and the issues and which are around, and there's a lot of research on this, and also because myself and my co-author are both practitioners, HSE practitioners. He's not an engineer, he comes from a more sciences kind of background, but he also went into HSE. We also both became managers around about the same time, and we also became practically more senior executives around the same sort of time. So we've had this journey, especially with each other, writing this book in the last couple of years, which also adds to this book. We also conducted a survey. We asked IOSH to help us deliver this survey to 20,000 practitioners on their database. We got a very good response, about 11%, so more than 2,000 responses. And the data, we didn't, I'm sorry, I was asked by the presenters because I wasn't supposed to be here. There was someone else supposed to be presenting, but he couldn't get a visa to come to India, so I'm presenting this in his place. And so I didn't have time to sort of put the data for you, but you'll find it when the book is published. And to look at focus groups and structured interviews. So this is the model. So this is the most important slide. This is actually the only picture I'm going to show you because it's a very, very boring presentation. It's too many words, not enough pictures. But this picture is basically the model that we sort of came up with or invented. We said that actually what a practitioner would require is require knowledge in 3 areas. One area is being the cross-functional area, where they understand other operations and other organizational areas. The strategic, which looks at stuff to do with the leadership, the general management, the corporate social responsibility, the governance. And these are the basic high-level kind of strategic factors. And the last area is the intrinsic factors. The intrinsic factors is what really makes us distinctive as practitioners, So these are these 3 areas put together with the 10 areas is what I'm just going to describe very quickly in the presentation. Okay. So what are the strategic areas? These are the areas of aligning, occupational safety and health to the overall direction of the business to create lasting occupational health and safety purpose that all the stakeholders can relate to. So the strategic and leadership areas, look at setting the vision, So making HSE really a key business value driver. So when, the company is coming up with its mission, vision, and you should be there as an HSE director or manager actually contributing to that. Integrating HSE in the cross functions of the business. Looking at governance and leadership issues. Looking at the cross-sectional organizational safety leadership, looking at EHS really at every level. Ahmed, for you, 100 rupees, and you can take a picture of me with them. Okay. Okay. So, and then there's the horizon scanning, understanding the business environment using, things like, the pestle analysis models, and how that kind of impacts. Because a lot of organizations, especially today in a low oil environment, this is an opportune time for many of the big organizations to go buy out other organizations, smaller organizations, and we see involvement in due diligences as being very important. General management, understanding quality management systems and their integration with health and safety, integration of systems, ensuring that there's no silos which are created between an organization, and selecting the right kind of competencies and the competency assurance, competency management, and the HSE committees, looking at risk management, enterprise risk management committees, and things like that. When we look at governance and sustainability, this is a no-brainer for many of the HSE people. They are starting now to work within this space, looking at principles of sustainable development, corporate governance, sustainability. Social impact assessments are becoming extremely important all over the world, in the Middle East, here I'm sure in India, definitely in places like Europe and the United States. And this whole concept of environmental stewardship, and this is where we actually drive up that ladder and we go to proactive and then get to generative. We cannot get to generative unless the leaders become stewards for EHS. Carbon footprint and global compact and voluntary reporting, all these kind of things. So we need to learn a lot about these kind of things. Now, get to the second area, the cross-functional area. So as an HSE person, you must understand HR and organizational behavior. Many of the issues that we have within the organizations which can help develop our safety culture really appear in this area. So we must understand motivational theory. We must understand, how does performance management system actually help people perform better. We have an issue. I now, as an executive director, sit on on this thing called the company credit committee. So the credit committee is basically a governance committee that looks at how we give our customers credit, to buy our products. So we give them 90 days credit and stuff like that. Some customers we really like, we've known them for a long time. Sometimes they ask us to supply products, but their LC is actually less than the amount that so we're supposed to sit there as a committee and assess the executives who are actually, or the managing directors who are allowing this kind of practice to happen, because you can have bad debts. So obviously, you know, this kind of behavior. Now, when your performance management system in an organization is driven by the fact that you have to sell more, and you know, so you push the guys who are doing the marketing to sell more, and then you start looking, you know, not looking so closely at, you know, the kind of, you know, your customer, does he have a safe premises that you're supplying to and all that. And then when an incident occurs, you're involved in that. So it's very, very important to understand human behavior and how that, that in the organization, there can be target setting can actually cause a complete, if you like, a complete contradiction within the organization, but that's actually driving the behavior. So you're there spending money and buying consultants to try to get them to help you drive a system or a safety culture, but your whole performance management system is driving people the other way. So designing incentive schemes, enforcing effective you know, and just and fair organizational culture, it's learning organizations. Economics and finance, I think it's quite straightforward. We must understand financial accounting, we must understand management accounting. When we do investment appraisals, when we go in and get involved in actually even presenting a case for safety, like so all these cases that were presented today, definitely as HSE people, if we don't understand how to do a ROI calculation, or we're not able to understand what actually drives a decision-making process within the organization, where the finance person will say, yes, we are going to invest in this, we're going to invest in that, then I don't think we're going to be able to do that. And there's many, many areas. Operations management, again, is very, very important. This is probably less of a problematic area for EHS people, because many of them come from an engineering operations background. But TQM, Lean, Six Sigma, you know, understanding, you know, operational excellence, but also understanding shift working and patterns and all that, asset integrity, all these issues are part of operations management. Of course, emergency response planning, shutdowns, and business continuity planning are very important to understand. In terms of marketing, we must also understand, because we can sell safety very well within our organization as HSE practitioners, when we are able to explain how it helps the brand and image management, how we are able to save our brand in case of a crisis. Look at, you know, internal and external corporate communications, and understand how we as an organization can sell HSE in a position, and us as an organization, when we have a good HSE system, how we sell ourselves as being a more reliable partner of choice to our customer. Then finally, there's the distinctive, and this is looking at new ways of presenting the occupational health and safety data, information, and generate interest and enthusiasm. And here there are three areas. One of them is the data analytics and decision making. We must be able to perform certain kind of calculations, understand how KPIs work, understand obviously data analysis, statistics, the difference between descriptive and inferential statistics, sensitivity analysis, etc. Should be able to use these kind of statistical packages, should be able to understand how the balance scorecard, for example, works, and design metrics that actually are able to help us drive the business. I'm not talking about putting the metrics only for KPIs, but putting in the metrics that actually our executives also in other parts of the organization can understand. And understand the financial and non-financial, and how you can highlight the non-financial performance targets and indicators. Also, innovation management is very, very important. Today, innovation is very, very important. Why? Because innovation actually creates that incremental additional value to an organization. And we must present ourselves in EHS to deliver that incremental and extra value to an organization. Obviously, there's, you know, safety panels, innovation committees, suggestion schemes, and we must be also very careful with innovation, because innovation can actually create certain things that can cause also incidents. You know, we innovate a bit too much without doing proper risk assessment. But we should not appear as HSE practitioners as being non-innovative within an organization. We must also innovate to try to improve safety, develop processes, and be involved in that. And finally, and very importantly, I say this as an engineer, engineers are very bad and have maybe a very good IQ. Many of us have high IQs. At least we like to think of ourselves as engineers having high IQs. But we don't have very good EQs sometimes, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient. So this is an area where we need to do a lot of self-development in ourselves. We need to understand and be empathetic to people. Even empathetic, when in the last 4 years when I did research, I became very empathetic to CEOs of organizations. I started understanding the challenges that they had. Whereas before I used to think as a safety person, the CEO, he should play a greater role and stuff like that. But we have to be empathetic to people, because see, safety is also like people who are preaching the good word or the right message or a religion. You have to show some empathy. You must connect with people's hearts. Conflict resolution is very, very important, extremely important, because as safety people we get into conflicts all the time. We need to be able to resolve those kind of conflicts. And also we need to be very good at listening, because sometimes we think that we know everything because we are the safety experts. Sometimes we must listen, because we can learn a lot from other people within the organization who can really help us learn about what we can do within an organization. And we must sell EHS, and there's nothing wrong with that. In many conferences I had discussions with fellow safety practitioners. They said, no, safety is a policy, safety has to be done, safety everybody has to. No, we have to sell safety, You have to sell it, This doesn't mean that you're pushing it, or peddling it like drugs. You're not. You're selling something which is good. So be proud of what you're selling. So you must be a good salesman or a saleswoman of safety. And to conclude with, I don't leave you with some conclusions, because this is work in progress. So the questions that we keep on asking ourselves is, how important is this for the HSE practitioner today? And this is maybe, I leave you with these questions to ask yourself. Is it going to become more important or less important? I think it's going to become more important, but it's up to you to think otherwise. And if we expect management to understand more about HSE, why should management not expect us as more technical HSE practitioners to understand more about their business? Because at the end of the day, they pay our salaries, right? So we're there to help them. Okay, prove it. Learn, take time to understand. And as Stephen Covey said, he goes, first, take time to understand before you are understood. Okay, and that's my final slide. Thank you very much.